We are live. We are live.
Well, good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. Just wanted to take a moment to thank you all for joining us this evening. What you will see on this first cover slide is an area where you can scan, and later we will give you an opportunity to be able to ask any questions or provide any feedback using our Mentimeter code here. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get this community engagement session underway. And by the way, this is our second community engagement session following last week's recommendation that staff shared with the board on our proposed budget. And this is really an opportunity to get your feedback on the recommendations in the proposed budget. And I will share with you that my team and I, and you'll see members of the team on this community engagement session, and you'll hear from them a little bit later during the Q&A. But when we built this budget, we built it with three primary strategies in mind. What will help us improve outcomes, student outcomes to be more specific, and achieve the goals that the Board of Education has set for our district. Will cases made for existing or new investments enable us to deliver what is promised? And then are the investments aligned to the board's work on student outcomes focused governance? So those were the strategies that we used in crafting this budget recommendation. So how are we funded? So I'd like to share with you where the district funding comes from and how the funding is used. And so this slide here shows our budget by both sources and usage. And you'll notice that the majority of our funds come from the state, and they are used for salaries and benefits. Now, it's important to note here that CMS, we receive our funding in the form of staffing allotments. I want to draw your attention to the orange funding source. That's where we get our dollars from our county partners. And these funds are actually a little bit more flexible than some of the other funding sources that we have. And you'll also see some federal funds and grants and some other special revenue as funding sources as well. And I think the takeaway from this particular slide is that most of our budget is tied directly to people. So here's what we know. We must improve outcomes, period. And I say that acknowledging that we must do this during one of the most challenging times any of us have ever seen in the history of public education. And I say it's been challenging because we see the evidence of the trauma that has been caused by the COVID pandemic in our students. We see it in their social and emotional behaviors. And we also know that we have some access to one-time federal funding that is enabling us to invest in areas that we have not been able to before. And so that's important. And I just wanted to acknowledge that. So I want to spend a moment acknowledging that the status quo, The status quo is not acceptable for us. It's not acceptable for our students, their families, for our staff members, and our community at large. Our data shows that our outcomes demonstrate a clear need for change. And our goal, and we're actually going to show how this budget speaks to that, but our goal is to prepare our students to thrive, not only while they are with us, but we want them to be able to thrive in life so that when they leave us, they must be equipped to succeed, whether that means launching a career or furthering their education. And so it's a priority to be able to increase the opportunities for all of our students, each and every one of our students, and particularly our Black and our Hispanic students. And the reason I call that out is because these are groups that have been historically underserved. And so we have a unique opportunity. We have a unique opportunity in this moment for our students, the families, community members, our faith partners, and our businesses to really come together and change how we approach public education. I believe, my team believes, this is the only way that we will get better outcomes for all of our students. We must all do our parts. And if we don't, then we will get simply more of what we have had before, predictable results. And so now we want to pause and we want to give you an opportunity to use the Mentimeter and be able to ask us any questions that you all may have thus far in the presentation. And let me just share with you all that you may ask those questions by going to www.menti.com and use the code 86220488. And we will answer those questions during our presentation.
Well, so far I don't see any questions, so maybe we can move on, and when we get to the next section, we may have some.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Jones. So how do we move forward, literally? So we want to set some non-negotiables. And when I say non-negotiables, these are things that we absolutely cannot compromise on. We cannot compromise on the rigor and the support that we must provide our students. We cannot compromise on having our students taught by educators who engage and inspire learning. We cannot compromise on educators who deliver culturally relevant instruction. We cannot compromise on educators who have a knack for noticing individual student needs and having systems to differentiate their needs. And then also, we cannot compromise on our historically underserved students, making sure that they receive the supports they need to be successful. And so earlier, I spoke about the goals that the Board of Education set forth and recently approved. And so here you will see those goals. These are the outcomes that our Board of Education is holding us accountable for achieving. So how we plan to leverage the COVID funds for the next 2 years. I want to just sort of walk you all through how we plan to do exactly that. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, we're very fortunate. We're blessed to have some federal funds to be able to access to increase our student outcomes. And one of the misconceptions is that we can use these funds for almost anything that we want. And while that's wishful thinking, it's certainly not true. These dollars have specific allowable uses that must be approved. And so this request in this budget proposal, it reflects our plans to leverage these COVID dollars within those allowable uses. And what's really important to note is that anything that we use the COVID funding for is temporary. It is temporary. And so that comes with a risk of a funding cliff. And so I wanted to call that out. But also this funding gives us the opportunity to try out some things that we perhaps did not have funding for. And then we can make the case for either continuing the program or keeping the staffing levels that we use to with these funds. And so what I'll show you here on the next 3 slides, it'll actually show you how we plan to use those COVID federal dollars over the next 2 years. And I want to call out in advance, we use a lot of acronyms in education, public education. And so you may see acronyms such as CRISA, and that is what we refer to as the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act. You may see an acronym ESSER, and that is also known as Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief. You will certainly see the acronym ARP or ARP, which stands for American Rescue Plan. And so I just wanted to, I didn't want to go too far without sharing that what those acronyms actually stand for. Okay, so here on this particular slide, and actually if we can go back to that slide for a moment, here you'll see the total amount of federal funding in our budget. And then on the next 2 slides, we'll actually provide an overview of how our federal funds will be allocated for the next 2 years. And again, the most important takeaway from these slides is that we're leveraging these funds to the best extent possible in order to give our students what they need. So you'll see here, I mentioned ARP or ARP or ESSER 3 funds. And so you'll see how that funding is broken down. Next slide. This shows how we've allocated the largest amount of our ARP funding. And then here, I want to spend the next few moments talking about how this year's budget builds on some key past investments that we have had in the district. Investments around the instructional core. When I talk about instructional core, we're talking about the instructional tools and the curriculum. We're talking about the professional learning for our principals, all of our instructional leaders, and certainly for our teachers as well. Equal Opportunity Schools, that's a partnership that we have to increase the number and types of students who are taking those advanced level courses in our district. Access to college level courses. We're referring to IB, International Baccalaureate, AP, Advanced Placement, CTE, Career and Technical Education, and so forth. And then I will just highlight that equity-focused professional learning. We're talking about culturally relevant curriculum and addressing those biases that, quite frankly, all of us have. We all have some sort of biases. And sometimes these biases can lead to us setting lower expectations for certain groups of our students. And so all of these investments are interconnected. All of these contribute to that larger goal. And so here, sometimes we don't talk a whole lot about the educational environment, but it is absolutely critical. It is absolutely critical. Students who feel safe in school, if they have an optimal learning environment, students will do better in school. And so how do we provide that optimal learning environment? We do that through improving our air quality, as well as conducting preventive maintenance. And so here on this next slide, you'll see information about post-secondary pathways. And this is not just about having more options for the sake of having more options. This is about expanding the options that we provide our students and being able to also provide supports and direction to our students so that they are empowered to pursue areas that they are interested in. Now, teachers, as we look at access to great teaching, and the reason why this is important is because teachers are the most critical element of a student's academic experience inside the school building. While, finding great teachers has always been a challenge, I think we all know that this year, in particular, our vacancies have made it very difficult to help our students catch up after they have lost so much instructional time during the pandemic. So making investments in our critical shortage pay and recruitment bonuses, that was critical. Now, once we have the teachers, we need to be able to provide them with the support that they need in order to deliver the instruction effectively. And so I just wanted to call that out. Next slide, please. Now here, I want to just spend a moment talking about the support that we're proposing to provide for our English learners. And one of the big misconceptions is about our English learners that I want to hopefully dispel is that, while our English learners include Black and Hispanic students, they are not exclusively Black and Hispanic. And we're very proud of the fact that our English learners speak more than 100 different languages. We're extremely proud of that diversity in our school district, and we want to always pause to just celebrate that. Now, our students who are new to the community, new to public education in this country, and are learning English, they will be onboarded in what we are proposing in our personalized academic command of English Global Academy. For short, it is called PACE. And so what this means is that our students will have more access to educators and programs that are designed to help them get prepared to be able to access the standard course of study that's offered here in North Carolina. Student engagement in school. It is extremely important to maintain a two-way communication between our schools and our families. That's absolutely core to and being able to engage our students in school most effectively. And so the Family Connect tool, that will be able to help us better maintain those relationships between the schoolhouse and home. Our SEL instruction, social emotional learning, and the integration of our SEL strategies in every content area enables our students to be able to gain those interpersonal skills to manage themselves and their learning as measured by the panorama indicators. Now, this includes both the continued support of the selected curriculum, coaching on SEL curriculum implementation, and the SEL integration across content areas. Multi-tiered systems of support. You will see that referred to in many places, including on this PowerPoint, but on our website as MTSS. And what we know is this, that in order to guarantee consistency and accountability of implementation of MTSS in all of our schools, we are proposing a structure to support the strategy. What's the impact on students with this implementation? You may ask this. So once we have their specific academic need identified through the diagnostic tool, and this tool identifies the need that our students have so that we can match the intervention to the student's need. So our students will be engaged with interventionists who have been trained on specific strategies that give them that extra support that they need in order to be able to meet the rigor inside of our classrooms. And so an integral portion of this investment is to create those structures that drive the accountability for the work in all of our schools. So in addition to funding the diagnostic tool, we're proposing a director, facilitators, and interventionists. And so let me give you an example. So a student may need a one-on-one. Another may need small group work intervention. It really just all depends on what we learn about the student through the diagnostic tool. So what did we, well, let me pause for a moment. And this is another opportunity to see if there are any questions that you all may have. And the instructions are on the screen to be able to share with us any questions that you all may have. So we'll pause for a moment.
Ernest, I have noted, or Superintendent Winston, I've noticed that there are two different codes showing up on the question page. And so I'd like to let everybody know that it's the code at the very top of the page, the 96608464, that will get you to Mentimeter. I've also put the current, put the link directly to Mentimeter in the chat. So, or in the comments. So please feel free to access Mentimeter either using that link or using www.menti.com and the code at the top of this page, the 96608464. Okay. So far, we still don't have any questions, but we'll have more opportunities for you to respond to questions as we move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. So now I want to spend a moment or two talking about exactly what did we realign during this budget process. So throughout the budget development process, our team, we really focused on ensuring the alignment of resources to those things that what we consider our highest priority areas that would help push us to achieve those goals that I spoke of earlier, as well as meet and stay within those guardrails that were approved by the board for us. And as our team, as we identified, new or expanded initiatives for the next school year, we recognize the need to identify those investments of time and money that we would need to be able to reduce or do less of or discontinue, so that those resources could be realigned to a higher priority. And the reductions in resources realignment were made across all departments in our district. And let me just share with you some examples of those. We eliminated central office positions where those duties could be absorbed by other staff members or realigned to other areas. We looked at strategies to reduce custodial overtime in order to realize some efficiencies. The team also looked at professional development, and we cut PD opportunities in an effort to be able to streamline the PDs to be able to focus only on those areas that were directly related to the prioritized focus areas. We also realigned recruitment strategies and cut down on overtime and travel related expenses to some of the in-person employee recruitment fairs. We made some reductions in computer equipment, given the significant investments that we made in the devices and our classrooms over the past 2 years. And so here on this next slide, you'll see a summary of some of those investments. So I won't spend a whole lot of time there. But now I want to shift gears and talk about our county budget request. As I mentioned earlier, the federal funding that we are grateful to receive is being leveraged to help us maximize, to the extent possible, within those allowable uses, to be able to support the recovery from the pandemic. And some of the strategic investments are long-term needs. They're not just short-term COVID recovery needs, they're long-term needs. And so what you see here on this slide, this highlights some of the long-term investments that our COVID funds cannot be used for. Here are now and on the next several slides, what you'll see are some of those areas that are what we call budget drivers. And so here you see sustaining operations, safety. Safety is our top priority for us in CMS. And I'm not just referring to physical safety, but I'm referring to psychological safety as well. And so here on this slide, you'll see some of the additional resource officers, as well as contract increases to our current contracts. Also, you will see here staffing for counselors and DSS liaisons and other staff, Department of Social Services. Here you will see that one of our more costly in budget drivers is the investment of our employees. And I think this is these are dollars that are well spent. All of our dollars that we're proposing are. But let me just highlight, you'll see some of the state-driven salary increases, You will see phase one of our market-driven adjustments for our teacher assistants, our TAs, to be able to boost their minimum pay to $16.50 per hour. Local supplement increase for our teachers and certified staff. We're proposing a 10% increase on supplement for teachers and certified staff that would make our teachers the highest paid in the state. And then we also have retirement and health insurance rate increases as well. On this slide, another budget driver is student growth and additional spaces. We are opening 2 new schools in the fall. One is an elementary school that will be named soon, and the other is a new high school, Palisades High School. And we will need staffing and maintenance and operating costs for these new schools, which come with added square footage in our district. I did want to highlight as well the charter school enrollment here, expecting just over 1,500 new students, and CMS serves as a pass-through for those charter schools. Now, I want to just spend a moment highlighting here our 22-23 proposed county appropriation. You will see that our 21-22 adopted budget is just slightly under $540 million. Here you will notice that our 22-23 proposed county appropriation is approximately $579 million, which is a change from the prior year appropriation. And on this slide, we've outlined our total budget, our operating, our capital, as well as our enterprise divisions. And our enterprise divisions are our school nutrition, or referred to as child nutrition, as well as ASEP, after school enrichment program. And this includes our budget with the federal COVID dollars, as well as without those funds. And now I believe we're going to pause again and allow you an opportunity to provide feedback, ask questions at this particular point.
Thank you, Superintendent Winston. We had one of the questions that came up in the chat, I believe, was how does this budget support access to advanced learning and coursework? This is one of the specific focuses of our advanced coursework focus area team. I will tell you that we've got a couple of things that are built into this budget. Mainly, one of the key pieces here is around awareness. We know that many of our students across our district do not have, and the families do not have as much knowledge as they may in other areas across the district. And we got to make sure that we have a campaign that lifts up those opportunities for our students and that they exist for all of our students in all of our schools across the district. A couple of other things that we are looking at also that's part of this budget is to add an early college on the CPCC Central Campus. What that means is that students in grades 9-10 would be supported through CMS staff, and then in grades 11 and 12 have the opportunity to look at pathways that are on the central campus. We believe this is a wonderful opportunity for our students as we look forward to in the near future. The other things that we're working on is also increasing our IB, AP, and Cambridge courses and opportunities for all of our students across the district. So more students have opportunities and to experience these various programs that we have that are definitely centered on advanced coursework. And then the last thing, one of the last things that we want to also highlight is just the support. The support systems, as you see in here, several positions that are designed at the high school to make sure that our students have all of the supports they need to make sure that as they continue into these advanced courses, that they are supported throughout the school and throughout that experience. We know that from many of the studies and things that in times that we've talked with students and families across the district, we hear all the time that students just are not comfortable in taking some of those courses and shy away from them. And we want to make sure that they feel supported. I know that they have a caring adult that's in each of the schools that's ready to stand arm in arm with them and make sure that they have a positive experience as they take some of these courses.
Okay, we have another question from our viewers. Why are positions from schools being reduced?
So I'm not sure exactly what we may be referring to as positions in the schools being reduced. I will tell you that we have more positions being directly aligned to supporting schools in the upcoming year. If you're referring to anything that has to do with ADMs, all of those things are basically worked in a formula based off of our student enrollment, and the enrollment directly impacts the number of teachers that we have in our school. But we're really trying to make sure that all of our supports that we have, and you can see those in this budget, are directly impacting at our school to directly impact the classroom, support our teachers, to provide that experience that all of our students need in order to be successful.
Thank you, Dr. Hayes. That is all of the questions that we have for right now. Okay, at this point, we have a question for you, for our audience tonight, and that is, what are your thoughts about how we might strengthen the budget proposal? And you can share your thoughts in Mentimeter, or you can share them in the comments, but we'd really like to know if you have thoughts about how we might strengthen it. Okay, while we wait, we have another question, which is, what is the plan to support and improve our Title I schools?
So Julia, I'll go ahead and hop in on that, that question around the Title I schools. So we have a number of supports in place. Our Title I schools do receive some additional funding so that they can take a look at the student needs that are specific to their school and work with their learning community superintendents and their school improvement teams to determine how to best use that funding to supplement and support in the areas of need that are specific to the Title I schools. We also have a number of specific initiatives that impact either some or portions of the Title I schools based on needs that are covered through our American Rescue Plan funds or our other COVID-related funding. And so that includes tutoring programs, that includes some additional staff like bilingual family school advocates and various other staffing positions, supplemental teachers in some cases. So there are a number of places that this actually shows up throughout the budget as well.
Thank you so much. We have our next question is, the superintendent is proposing $3.7 million to support English learners. We have heard the idea of 32 positions to create support academy for our children. Can you please explain more about the academy?
Thank you
So
for
this-
this question. So I will say two things about it. Yes, we are proposing to add 32 English learner positions, and those will go to support students who have who need L services. That is separate and apart from an academy. The proposal about an academy is a high school for newcomer English learners to receive their comprehensive high school instruction with the supports built into that smaller learning academy. So we're proposing two ways to support our English learners. One is to add additional teachers to reduce the overall student-teacher ratio with English learners. And second is a separate small high school that would meet the very unique needs of our newcomer high school students.
Thank you so much, Dr. White. At this point, we do not have any more questions, I think. Wait, let me just check one piece real quick. Yeah, I think we already addressed that. So I think we can move on to the next slide. And this, if you're in Mentimeter with us, we would love to know, oh, whoops, let me take that so you can see it. We would like to know your feelings about the budget proposal. Are you in support of this budget proposal? And you can say you strongly support to strongly oppose it, but we really want to know where the community stands on the budget we've described today. And so we'll give you a minute to enter your values. Okay. Okay, so on that note, oh, people are still voting. So I'll give you all another minute. While people are voting, we do have another question that I'd like to share with the group. Question, and this is probably for you again, Dr. White. It says, will the new academy, let me try that again. It says, will the new academy receive funds before existing schools that already have needs that have not been addressed?
So what I will say is that funds will be directed for the planning of this academy, and then for employing all of the personnel that would need to support students at this academy. And that will not be before or after the funds that are being allocated for the English learner teachers that are also in the budget. So both are being funded at the same time. One is not dependent on the other. So in that regard, we will be supporting English learner needs in two ways at the same time. I think I've answered that question, but if not, you might ask it a different way. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all so much for those questions. And I want to thank the team for responding to those questions. What you see here are a list of key dates and next steps in the budget process. You will note that we have a budget work session at our school board meeting on next Tuesday, April the 5th. Also at that school board meeting, we will have a public hearing on our budget. And then at the next meeting on April the 26th, our Board of Education is scheduled to vote on the proposed budget. And so now I believe we have answered the questions that have been submitted. And certainly we look forward to further participation and the next opportunity you will have to weigh in and provide feedback is at the public hearing next week. Again, April 5th during our school board meeting. I do want to take an opportunity to just express on behalf of our staff, our appreciation for your participation tonight, our appreciation for your feedback. And as I mentioned earlier in this presentation, we have a unique opportunity to be able to build an education experience for your children, for our children, that we believe will yield better results. And so I am asking each and every one of you all to join us in advocating for our students. And with that, I want to thank you once again and hope you have a great rest of your evening.